Hey, what's up, Guardian Home Inspection performing inspection in Chatsworth, California. So first off, I like to find out what direction the property faces, northeast, south, or west. That's helpful for the report. So what I'll do is jot that down in my Inspector Pro app. So right here, one of the things I do right off the bat is look at the main water supply meter. So I like to open this little meter area, check the meter to see if that little dial is spinning. If it's spinning, it's telling me that somebody's in there using the water and or there's a leak. The property is vacant, so I can tell if there's a leak somewhere. Another thing I do is I'm trying to find out what type of material this main water supply is, water supply line. It's kind of annoying. I have to have a shovel or something, but another thing is you don't want to dig into this really heavily because you could break the main water supply line. It would be a nightmare. So there's that. See, I see white. So that's PVC pipe, which is lower grade pipe than an actual copper. So I'm going to recommend upgrade. Obviously, the seller is not going to repair that. I don't see any leaks. If there was a leak, maybe, but for now, as it stands, that's what it is. I'm just informing the client what type of material it is. So the agent or the buyer weren't here at the time at this video, just because I got there early and I'm just taking a reconnaissance mission. So I'm kind of just looking around, doing my report, putting information down, gable style roof, asphalt composition, driveway concrete, things like that. Just general information that I put into the report. And once the buyer gets there, I explain to him what is entailed in the home inspection. I'm signing my inspection agreement, and I continue on doing the exterior, interior, attic, roof, pretty much anything that's associated with the property gets inspected. So right here, I'm looking at the steps to the front entrance, see how they're settled with the trip hazard there. So I'll note that. So the property was in pretty good shape. It did have some termite issues here and there. So I do a minimal termite inspection. I will look around to see if there's active termites or any areas where my probe will easily sink into the wood. I carry a long screwdriver and I probe, the wood, the trim, the siding, things of that nature. Then, but it is recommended to have a licensed termite inspector further review and have an inspection termite on every property. I think it's like $150, well worth it. Why not? I would do it all day, every day if it was my house. On this property, the roof looked okay from the street level, but once I got up there, it did need to be replaced because it had age-related wear. The granules were on the roof granules. They were worn. It was brittle, and there was a couple areas where they had done some repair and patching. And so when I went in the attic, I did see moisture stains. So it's telling me that yeah, it's at the end of its service life, and the gold standard for replacement is to remove the entire roof, check the wood framing, check the roof deck, and replace any decking that is necessary. And then another thing, what they do is when you do a permitted roof, the LA City inspector will look for insulation as well. So these roofers have to put insulation when there's not enough insulation. So that's good too. See, so right there, I did see a little bit of termite issue. Probing around, looking at everything. This masonry exterior veneer did have a crack. I noted that, took a picture of that. So now I'm looking for the main water shutoff. The main water shutoff is located at the front. And I see copper. So remember, we had PVC at the front and now copper here. So I don't know where they tied it in. And it didn't have a pressure regulator installed and or a pressure exhaust installed. So I'll recommend installing. The pressure on this property was about 70. So that's the city pressure coming in. So there's no reason to put a pressure regulator, but standard practice usually has a pressure regulator and a pressure exhaust because this pressure from the city could fluctuate and it can cause a problem. That pressure regulator will
No
prevent any
pressure
issues
regulator
from
installed.
happening, meaning having
Pressure
leaks because the
exhaust
pressure has gotten too
installed.
far with the city.
No
It didn't have
anti-siphon
an
valve
anti-siphon
installed.
valve, very
We
minimal.
have the
It
ground
does have a
for the
ground
electrical panel.
installed,
Ground
ground
rod
rod.
there. Looks
So
good.
at the main line looked good. So I did
The
see
air
some
pressure
galvanized here. That's the
shut off.
irrigation. Not a big deal. So I think I noted that. I'm not too sure, but it wasn't leaking. So over here is your main gas meter. And so I like to tell them where it's located: east, west, south, north. And I like to show them when I'm doing the walkthrough, I'll show them where the shutoff is for the gas, the water, and the electrical. And this one didn't have the automatic gas seismic shutoff valve installed, which is required in LA City. It does have a pool. See, we have a gas line routed to the rear of the property. So it would require automatic gas seismic shutoff valve and a bracing that will brace the meter to the structure. So this is the electrical panel. So what we'll note is the amperage, the meter amperage, because there's two different meters, actually four different meters that they have in LA City, three or four. One is a -6, which is a 100 amp meter, and it's analog, it's not digital. And they have a -9, which is 200 amp, and then they have the digital meters, and then they have the bi-directional meters. So this one was a 200 amp meter, which correlated with the main breaker, which is 200 amp, because occasionally I'll see a 200 amp breaker with a -6 meter, which is 100 amp. So the meter governs how much amperage comes into your breaker. And if you have a 100 amp meter and you have a 200 amp breaker, that's not a 200 amp service. You have 100 amp service. So that's typical when they don't do permitted work. And I see that quite a bit. So another thing that I do when I look at the electrical panel, I put on rubber gloves, because I see inspectors say, hey, if you're going to touch the electrical panel, put your hand the backside of the hand, and that's, you're still going to get shocked. I guess they do that so you don't grab onto the panel, but you're still going to get a shock. So I put on some rubber gloves to inspect the electrical panel, look inside for any charred conductors. I'm looking for breakers that match the conductors, looking for the neutral, bus bar, any double taps, looking for the ground conductors, any exposed openings, knockouts, no bushing clamps. Pretty much anything that I see that looks off, I will take a picture and take a note of it. This one looked pretty good. It didn't have any issues that I did see at the time of the inspection. It had arc fault electrical breakers installed. So it looked good. And this is me just closing it. This panel didn't close properly. I don't even think I noted it, because it's supposed to open and close easily, but I think it was just I don't think it was a big issue, so I don't think I even noted it. So I'm just finishing up on the electrical, and then I'll swing over to the sewer line. So one of the things I do is I provide diagnostic main lateral sewer inspections. So on this, what I'll do is I'll start the video, I'll have a little sheet, and it has the address, it has the square footage, the bathrooms, and the year it was built. And then I take a little quick view around the area just to show on the video that this is the property. We don't want to get confused, and just show them that this is the property we're actually taking the video of the main sewer line. So I used to clean out looking at the garage. A lot of the properties have clean outs looking at the front, sides, and a lot of times they'll have it at the kitchen rear or the right behind the kitchen sink. But it has to be a minimum of 2 inches for that clean out for the snake to fit in. On this, I easily access the main sewer line. And on this property, it did have issues where it had tree roots. And a couple seconds from now, we'll see the video inside, and I'll show you what I dictate on there. And it takes the video pretty clearly. It's a rigid sea snake. Works really well. I think it's 150-foot cable length, and most of the times I'm able to
There's that
get to the main city
bathroom
saddle connection, the city sewer connection.
dump there
So
that's coming
that's
off
that's the goal.
the bathroom.
I
Water
want to
that's
see
turned on.
visualize the pipe internally, and then I
I want
want
to
to
see how
get to
far
the
I can
main
get
city saddle connection.
with this pin out.
The reason being is that that city saddle, it's underneath the street usually, and if it has to be repaired, that's an expensive fix because a normal plumber can't just dig into the street.
So this
It
is a
has to be a
manual pushing
dedicated
camera.
plumber that
I'm gonna try
can
to
pull
get as
permits
far as I
to
can. The
block the
bottom
street
number there is
and dig
-3,
into that street
-4.
to fix
I'm
that main
counting
city
the
saddle
force of the
connection. So
camera.
it's about a $30,000 repair. So
I've
these
traveled
inspection of the sewer line
38 feet so far.
it's highly recommended. But one thing you do is you open up Pandora's box or a can of worms because half the properties have issues with this sewer line. So what happens is, so now I find an issue, and now you get a plumber. He has to give you a quote, and it could be $10,000, $15,000 repair.
Here
So the
at
property's in
approximately
escrow,
49
first
feet,
time home buyer.
I've
Now
reached
it's an issue.
clay.
Now
So
the
nothing wrong
agent
with
has to
clay.
figure
Clay
out
is
who's
the
going to
pipe.
repair this. It's usually the seller. The
Sometimes the
seller
clay
can say
line,
no,
the clay
but
joints get
now they
damaged
know
because
there's
they're
something
made
wrong with their
concrete-based
sewer
material,
line.
but
So if
see,
this buyer backs
at
out,
one time
they're
this
going to have to
property had a
disclose
big
it on the
pine
next
tree in the front.
seller,
No
to the
longer
next seller.
there,
So
but pine trees are notorious
it's a
for
good way to have
root
to get a
disease.
credit. And a lot of times the plumbers will come in with high repair costs where you can
And
work a
some of this
plumber
liner
or
here,
find somebody to do the repair for not half the price, but a little bit less than what they actually quoted. So it's a good, it's always great to get a sewer line inspection. And so now I'm gonna keep pushing here. And so, I always wear gloves because the sewer is dirty. And what I'll do is I'll push it in, and then when I'm retracting my cable, I'll clean my cable off with some antibacterial solution on a rag. And then, so here we go, we're gonna get the dictation inside in a second.
-9.
Keep pushing. Okay. And so this sewer line camera cost me about $8,000 with the NaviTrack was $1,500, but it's well worth it. I do approximately 70 sewer line inspections a year, where now, it's paid for itself for the first year, and the rest is pretty good because each inspection you charge a certain amount, and then you get an extra $175 per inspection. So that's when I went underwater there. See that? So I'll go underwater here. So it's completely blocked. So at this point, I do recommend further review and repair by licensed plumber. So what they'll do is they'll come out. They'll probably have to hydrojet this line to assess the damage. Because right now I can't really assess it. You have to hydrojet it, and then they can give you a proper price quote. See the tree roots, various areas. So I'm going to note that, and I'm going to recommend further review and repair by a licensed plumber. We'll see what they say, but maybe a sewer liner would be the best bet on this one. Okay, so now I'm in the garage. So in the garage, I'm looking for various items, various defects. Garage door opener, make sure it functions. The reversing sensor, firewall, any holes. So I have a whole long list of items that I'm inspecting, and I have it on my app, Inspector Pro. I recommend for you to have some kind of app where you can do the inspection as you go along. That way you don't have to do the report, take pictures, go home, and then spend another 2-3 hours doing an inspection report. So right here I looked at the main water shutoff for the water heater. That's a gate valve, so that's an older style valve. I do recommend installing a ball valve. We have the vent flue single wall that has loose tape, so I'll note that. Missing screw at the draft hood, a little bit of moisture damage at the hot side of the water supply pipe. The water heater main water supply was bonded, and it actually was bonded to the gas line as well, which is overkill, but because NEC electrical code, it is grounded. The gas line is grounded, so you don't have to do that. So it was overkill, but it was fine. It's strapped. Here I'm going to take a picture of the data plate of the water heater. It tells you manufacturer, it's American Standard, the capacity, and what type of gas it uses, is propane or natural gas. This one's a natural gas, it's not electric. It didn't have a drip leg for the gas supply, and then I'll always look at this burner chamber, make sure that glass is not broken. A lot of times they are. And it didn't have a catch pan, water heater, and or protector ballard. So I'll note those issues, and these are all recommendations for repair. I see that garage door, it doesn't self-close or self-latch, so I didn't know that. It's supposed to self-close and self-latch. That's me just taking a picture of the report. Of the water heater. And then, so this property had a raised foundation, and what I have is an inspection crawler. It's a robot that I use to inspect the foundation, but it's not, as I say, 100% accurate. Because see, look, I can only get like 4 or 5 feet of picture quality, and then it just drowns out. It gets too dark. And then I tried putting in a higher beam of light, and then it just drowns it out with too much light. So this is like right in the middle. This looks good. But like I said, it's not perfect. I still have to go inside and crawl here and there. But this helps me get to areas that are not accessible, and it does make the inspection a little easier. So I did see some subterranean termites at this property. This cripple wall wasn't braced with plywood, but that's an upgrade if they need to do it. It's a recommendation. And then this line looked like it didn't have a cap. See that? This ABS pipe, black pipe, see it's capped. A little opening, but it doesn't look like it's leaking. So that's not a big issue. And then raised foundation, concrete, and this is just a robot showing you the picture inside. What I like to do is go to each corner, make sure I don't see any cracks to the foundation, go around. This is a loose electrical conductor that's not in a junction box. I don't know if it's still active. I'm gonna note it, because what happens is, you flip a light switch and that becomes active. So I'm recommend installing a junction box on that. The framing, you get to see the framing here. I had a galvanized pipe coming through this concrete stem wall here, and I'll note that. Copper water supply lines installed. So you can see items. See, there's that galvanized pipe that's coming through the wall. So I would recommend capping it and removing it, maybe sealing that hole so no water gets in. I did see some efflorescence. And then here's another galvanized pipe over here on this section that has some visible cracking to the concrete, the stem wall here. And see, that's the efflorescence. See, there's that galvanized pipe with that crack. So I recommend repair on that. So, it's a tool to use to do inspection. Go to this corner, don't see any cracks. And like I said, I still have to crawl this foundation, which is kind of annoying. But and that's it. What I do is this is what I do: going around and inspecting the property and finding issues or items that are safety hazards, repairs, big ticket items, expenses, and I'll note in the report and send it out to the client, to the agent. And I normally don't send out to the selling agent. A lot of times they ask, but the seller can forward it to them if they like. And no one ever tells me what happens or what was repaired, what was not repaired. So it's a unbiased report that I send out to the buyer, and then they could try to get credits or repairs, and that's me. So I hope you like the video.